All right. Just a little bit about Third Wave. I know most of you on the call today are either Third Wave clients or have worked with Third Wave solutions as partners for a while. So I'll go through this really quick. The long and short of it here is that we've been in the SAP Business One space for a long time. We've been in business, serving small and medium companies in the ERP space for 20 plus years. We have a heavy focus on AQM, which is a standard implementation standard from SAP, and we are one of the very few partners who are certified in that in North America. And of course, we have been a solution provider since 2003 as well, and we've been very involved with the SAP Business One community throughout the time that we have been developing solutions. Before we get into EFT, here's a quick overview of all the solutions that we have. In case you don't know about them, we pride ourselves in being a one-stop shop for add-ons. So we have everything ranging from from a financial standpoint, financial management standpoint. Of course, there's electronic funds transfer, which you're going to look at today. We have MICA check printing, credit card processing. On the productivity side, we have Advanced Productivity Pack, which has many different modules, customizations, charts and dashboards, and document delivery, emailing, faxing documents. On the CRM side, we have marketing and campaign management that allows you to manage leads and convert them to business partners, sales opportunities, etc. On the operations side, we have returns management, shipping, as well, in addition to some of the other ones that are also relevant in operations. We have a project management solution called PAS, Project Accounting Suite, if you deal with projects, service-oriented projects. And our iPortal product, which is our recently rebranded to Versago, also deals with mobility and helps you with getting information to customers or vendors or employees, both through laptops and desktops as well as mobile devices. So again, I wanted to go through this at a quick glance, just so you're aware of all the solutions that we have. But let's get into EFT. The first question is, why do you need EFT? Why typically, traditionally companies have cut checks. Or there was also another form of payment processing, mostly, called credit card processing. Guess what? We have solutions for both. So why EFT? The benefits of EFT, again, in some cases, certain companies do all three because that's what their business demands. In other cases, sometimes, if there's no need for you to do credit card processing, some companies stick with check printing and EFT or EFT only. There are many ways about it, but many ways to go about it, and it all really depends on what your core business needs are. But again, the benefits of going with EFT are, you're obviously getting a higher level of security. With check printing, you need to store and maintain check stock. There is lesser risk of fraud here. Efficiency, to me, this is a big thing this is a big advantage that EFT has over some of the other, especially compared to check printing. I mean, if you think about check printing, everything ranging from printing the check, creating the checks, printing it out, getting signatures, stuffing it in an envelope, putting the stamp on it, and sending it out. It actually, there are some metrics that say it costs anywhere between $3 to $5 in just time and money to get the check out of the door, each check. Whereas with EFT, that's drastically different. You will see that the way we have designed the system, you can go through the payment wizard in Business One and create payments for 50, 60, 100. You can execute 50 or 100 payments with a few clicks, and then in the same process, you can also send out email remittances to your customers. All right. I have a message on the webinar saying there is difficulty with the sound. Is this better? I just want to confirm if you're still having difficulty hearing me. Okay. All right, Mindy. Okay, great. It is a little better. All right, I'll get the phone closer to me. All right. Again, if you have issues, just let me know. Thank you. So with EFT, there are significantly lower costs. The average transaction cost per transaction is 15 cents. And plus you combined with the increased efficiency where you can process so many payments with a few button clicks and also send out email remittances really underscores the advantages of EFT. And again, in recent months or recent years, one of the especially companies who need to deal with recurring payments, monthly payments, or quarterly payments, they are definitely gravitating more towards EFT because they generally have lower lower per transaction costs as well when you compare it to even credit card processing. So again, depending on how you use, depending on what your business demands are, business needs are, EFT, there are certain scenarios where EFT can really provide you a lot of efficiency and cost advantages. So what does here's a quick overview of what our add-on does, what our solution for Business One does. As is expected of the solution, one of the core functions in the solution is to be able to, review the payments that you've created and basically create the bank transfer file or files, formatted in the bank format. Obviously, the starting point for all of this is you go to your bank and say, hey, what's your EFT bank format? And then configure that in our application. And the end result of all of that, when you go through the payment wizard, you're able to create the files needed. Excuse me. When you do that, once you create the bank files, you also need to, basically be able to print or email the remittance advices for vendors or customers. And by the way, it's important to understand that our solution can handle payments on both sides. Not only can we handle outgoing payments to vendors, but we can also, if you want to do this, you can also pull in, you can also set it up so that it can get incoming payments from customers as well. It's whatever you're doing, it's important to keep the other parties, your customers or vendors, in the loop, saying, hey, we are withdrawing money from you, or we are sending you money, we are sending you a remittance, and it'll be available in X number of days. Remittance advice is a key component of that. And not only do we allow you to print remittances, we also allow you to email remittances. So our own controller, we use our own products in-house. We run SAP Business One, and of course we use EFT for taking care of employee expenses and stuff like that. Our controller always says that, in his previous company, he used to cut checks manually, and it's so much faster and easier. He goes through every 2 weeks, he goes through a payment cycle, and he said, I'm able to process 50 to 100 invoices within 15 minutes, send out emails, and I'm done. And that's a huge advantage in terms of efficiency and time saving. We have a quick and easy bank setup and configuration. We support 2 major standards in North America, the NACHA format being the ACH, or the US standard for banks. For Canadian customers, we also support the CPA format. Even if your bank, for most banks, we don't see too much deviations, but even if there are slight modifications in your bank format from those standards, we are able to easily handle that because we have a very easy setup and configuration process. In the US, this is there's a process called pre-noting. Again, it's just a transaction. It's an EFT transaction, but with $0. This type of transaction is needed before you can actually sign on a customer or a vendor to be processed. Again, this is only for US CPA or Canadian format. Does not have this requirement, and again, it's just a way to validate that you have the right account number, the right routing number, and all of those details. So how does our solution measure up to standard Business One? So again, I won't go through each one, but you can see that we have a lot more yeses in terms of compared to Business One, and the one no that we have, it's really, do you need technical skills to format or create the EFT file, which is a good thing, that you don't need that. Whereas in Business One, it deals with like raw XML files, and you have to manipulate it, which is not pretty trusting. So you're able to, with our solution, you're able to do things a lot easier, set up your bank configuration easily. We support as I said, we support the standard, so you have less work to do in setting it up. We support incoming and outgoing. We support email remittances, and you can also have, if you want to terminate a customer or a vendor in terms of processing payments, you can put in an EFT termination date, and and EFT will ignore those customers for remittance or payment generation purposes. You can say you can pretty much enter any currency code in the system as long as it's the ISO compatible currency codes. Obviously, we support international bank transfers as well. And on that note, we have a couple of questions here. So one of the questions is, we receive most payments by international transfer. Can the EFT solution work for that? As long as so the answer to that is, as long as your bank, I assume, is a US bank, and that'll support the NACHA format. So we definitely, so I think definitely the answer is yes. But with any opportunity with EFT that comes across, what I always do is I request the bank formats, and I have our development team look at it to confirm that we are supporting it. But your scenario falls within the sweet spot of what our solution does. But I will reach out to you, and we can talk about I will need specific bank formats from you so that I can confirm for sure. Another question is, our bank requires specific file name and does not accept spaces in the file name. Can the software be customized to do that? So again, by default, we don't. Yes, I have to definitely. We can customize the file name to whatever you need it to be. And again, if you don't want spaces in it, I have to check. But I think by default, we don't let any spaces. We don't have any spaces in the file name. So again, that should be okay. So those were the two questions I have. Thank you. We'll continue. So in terms of configuring the file formats itself, again, as I said earlier, we have several pre-installed formats: NACHA, PNC Bank, Bank of America, Canadian Payment Association. So there are two ways. 95% of our clients, all they need to do, because of our support for these standards, all they need to do is start from NACHA or Canadian Payment Association format, and and just tweak it. Every bank, they say they adhere to the standards, but they tweak. They may add a field, or they may remove a couple of fields. So there's always some tweaking, but 95% of our customers, we can get things wrapped up. There are I think there are a few customers, handful of customers, I should say, where one of them wanted a BACTIL, which is a UK-based format, or a New Zealand-based format, which we were able to do. We have with our format builder, we were able to create a new format from scratch. But again, while we have that capability, we don't foresee, as I said, 95% of our customers are able to leverage what we already have and then use that as a starting point. So a quick we'll spend a couple of minutes on pre-notes. As I said earlier, it is just a format testing for validation. It is a zero transaction records, and they are not available for Canadian Payment Association. These are, and again, we go over some common reasons why a pre-note might not be accepted. The file formatting is wrong, or some of the details relating to the account number, routing number, or the data formatting itself is incorrect. The remittance report, this is a key part of it, a key part of the solution. And to make it easy, in our most recent versions, what we are doing is we are actually providing these remittance advices or remittance reports as crystal reports. Crystal reports, as you know, is one of the most common reporting tools. It has been integrated with Business One for quite a long time, and so there's a lot of folks are familiar with it. You don't need to learn anything specialized to be able to create a new remittance advice or edit an existing one that we provide. And again, in 99.9% of the cases, folks are okay with just taking the simple format that we provide. They put their logo on it, and they're good to go for the most part. But again, if you want to customize it, or you have some unique needs using Crystal Report as a tool, it's easy, and you're not limited in any way from customizing that, which is important. So let's jump to the demo. It's really a very short, very quick, very focused add-on, so this shouldn't take too long. So I'll start off with the EFT Bank Wizard screen that can be loaded from administration, setup, banking, EFT Bank setup. So here you select the bank, what account you have, and we just go through the basic process here. You can see that it is NACHA based format. We have several other formats. You can even define new here. If you want to set up a new format, you can say I want to copy the format and start something new. That's fine. Here are some options about pre-notes, what's the grace period, whether you need a balancing record, so on and so forth. All of those are driven by, again, your bank format, right? So once you get us before I make any sale, I always get the bank format and I check to make sure, that we are compatible. So that takes a lot of ambiguity out of the equation. And then you go through the details about, again, these might all seem pretty cryptic, but these are all details that are provided in the bank file. You're just entering some key control numbers and account numbers and all that, bank name. These are the pre-notes. Again, you can do the pre-noting capabilities here. You can take care of that. These are the file locations where the transaction will get generated. So towards the end, when I execute the payment wizard, you can see that it'll basically get stored in this file location here. And of course, remittance reports for internal and external reports. How are you managing it? What's the crystal report associated? You can select all those things here, all those details here. All right. The next step is going to the business partner screen. Again, I have a vendor record up on screen, so it's again pretty straightforward. What do you need? You set up your bank information. You set up your EFT outbound and inbound. On the payment terms tab, you can see that we have the business partner bank set up here. We also have some fields here related to the account details. What's the routing number? What's the account number is taken from here? What type of account is it? Is there a termination date? If I wanted to terminate this vendor as of Jan 15th, I can just put in the date here, and we can the vendor will get ignored for future payment runs. All right. So what I've done is I've set up a couple of AP invoices. Before I go there, I have a question. The question is, if we need an authorization signature before the payments are transmitted to the bank, how can we implement it through this program? So again, typically, the purpose of EFT is, again, all electronic funds transfer. So there are, we have, I'm going to say 150 plus clients. I have never seen the need for a signature as part of this EFT processing, right? Typically, there are two filters in terms of security. The first is who has access to generate the files in Business One, right? So from a system standpoint, you would provide only the users in the finance department or accounting department this capability, right? The second level of control is who can upload that and who is authorized to upload those files to the bank through the bank's website, right? Between these two controls, that is definitely all the checks and balances that I have seen that is needed. I have so far never heard of the requirement to have another authorization or a signature for that process. If that is something internal to your organization, again, you can you can create a crystal report or manage, again, work with your Business One consultant to work through that. But from an EFT or a bank interfacing standpoint, I've never seen or never heard that requirement that you need an additional signature to get this processed. But I could be wrong. There's always something that I haven't seen before. But again, we can talk about that offline. But as far as I know, so far I haven't run into that scenario where you need additional signatures. All right. So as I said, I have set up 2 AP invoices, pretty straightforward for this vendor, Far East Imports. So I'll just walk you through the payment wizard and show you how you can generate the EFT files for those. So let's go into payment wizard. And by the way, for most of this, what you're going to see here, till we go to the last screen, everything, you'll see a couple of extra buttons. But other than that, everything is pretty much standard SAP functionality. We are pretty much letting SAP do whatever it does, whatever it needs to generate the payments. And then at the end, we're going to generate the file based on the payments that SAP creates. All right. So we're going through the standard functionality. I'm starting a new payment run. And you can see that in this case, I'm doing an outgoing payment and I'm doing a bank transfer. So here you can put in a range of vendors. I have payments only for this one vendor, so I'm going to select that one vendor here. Again, you can put in a range of vendors, customers, whatever it is you want. I think I have my posting dates as of 31. Okay. And here's an important field here. This is EFT related. Now you might be posting an EFT transaction today, but you might not want the payment dates on those transactions to be effective till, let's say, 12/31, right? Just because you're processing the transactions today doesn't mean it's immediately available to be withdrawn. So you can set those dates. If you want the payments to be withdrawn only by the end of the month, you can set that date here. That's what this EFT effective date does. So let's move on. And here are the different payment methods that you set up in Business One. And one of the things I failed to mention, let me go back to the business partner screen, please. So as part of the payment run here, you select which payment run applies to the vendor, or which payment code, payment method applies to the vendor, and that's what will get selected as their EFT payment method. So in this case, I'm selecting EFT outbound, which is what was set on the vendor. And here are all the AP invoices that are associated with the vendor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select only those 2. I can select all 4 and move forward if I want. But if I want only those 2, then I can do that. Before I go forward. You see here there are some buttons here that says TWBS not included, or non-included transactions. What this will do is, if for any reason there are certain transactions that third wave that our solution is excluding. For example, a common example could be, there might be some AP invoices against a vendor who has a termination date set, payment termination date. If the payment termination date was set for 12/1, December 1st, but inadvertently some AP invoices were created, that would be an example of, those AP invoices would be moved into this non-included list here because it doesn't fall within the processing criteria that you have laid out. So those are some examples of exception reporting that is available as part of this process. And then we'll go ahead and execute the payment run. And then, as I said, up until this point, for the most part, it has been standard SAP Business One functionality. So you can see that there are two buttons here. I'll click the Generate EFT button to actually generate the file. Okay, so that is the, so you can see that this is, so that's the file that was generated. And I do see that this file name has spaces, but one of the questions was, can we generate a file without spaces? And I'll definitely make sure to check that out. I am 99.9% sure that we can generate files without spaces. But also, you can see that there are the other part of the question that was that was there earlier was, can we generate files with a specific file name? And it seems like you can kind of control the naming here. You can see that it has a specific pattern to it with the dates and all that. So again, once I learn more about your specific requirement about how the files need to be named, I can confirm whether we are able to do it or not. Okay, and then I won't be able to do this because I don't have email set up here, but the email remittances, once I click that, what it'll do is it'll basically go through all the invoices that you're processing, whether it's AP or AR. It'll look at the contacts, the designated contacts, and then it'll basically generate an email with the remittance as an attachment and generate it and send it off to the recipient. So again, you can see how quick it is, throughout the 2 weeks, whatever your payment cycle is, you'll be generating AP invoices, and then you just come to the payment wizard and go about creating the payments and generating it. This is the part that I referred to earlier, where this process would take our controller. Every 2 weeks he would just have to spend about 15 to 20 minutes to get roughly 50 to 75 payments out of the door every 2 weeks, and that was a huge game changer for him in terms of how we used to do that earlier. That pretty much concludes my demo. I am happy to answer any questions you may have. If there are no questions, I have you have my contact information up on screen, and you can give me a call or shoot me an email, whatever works. All right. If there are no other questions, I'll just stay on the phone for just a minute in case I see anything come through. But otherwise, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to attend the webinar today. It was much appreciated. So we have one question. Our bank has a cutoff time of 3 p.m. Does this have any effect on the third wave EFT? The answer is no. I mean, that's just something procedurally that you need to follow. If you need to get a particular set of transactions processed that day, from a payment generation and the file upload standpoint, you just need to ensure that you do that before in the morning and make sure that the file is uploaded to the bank before the cutoff time. And the 3 p.m. is a pretty standard cutoff time, I think. And again, if I'm not mistaken, even if you upload it at 3:30, what would happen is that the transactions, they'll basically process it the next day. So it's not like they'll ignore the transactions, but generally, if you want any transactions to be posted that day, then you have to process before 3 p.m. So, but the answer to your question, it does not have any effect on third wave's product. It just needs to be done from a task execution standpoint. You just need to ensure that the file gets uploaded to the bank before 3 p.m. All right, I don't see any further questions. So once again, thank you for attending the webinar. I will be ending the session at this time. And as I said earlier, all of you will be receiving a recording of the webinar, so you can review it. And my contact information will be there. Please do feel free to reach out to me if you have any further questions. Thank you. Bye.